Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope that everybody is having a great weekend so far. I hope that you're staying healthy and happy and you are ready to learn some IELTS with me. In this class, everyone, we are looking at IELTS Speaking Part 2. Specifically, we are looking at a cue card focusing on an object. The question will focus on an unusual object for today to get your mind working on some ideas. And this is a members chat lesson, which means that you have to be a member to join the chat. To become a member of our channel, simply click the join button next to the subscribe button and choose the package that's right for you. This lesson again is, of course, brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. For the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. Those are the websites we use for these live lessons, and we will be using them today as well for some speaking practice. On those websites, we have a speaking interface so we can speak with our students. This is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background, and you can just simply click this big red button there right above my head to join our premium IELTS package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access to all of our great materials, our practice exams, our interactive courses, lesson videos. We are an official IELTS test registration center in Saudi Arabia and IDP affiliates. We are British Council agents, so you're in great hands with us to get prepared for your IELTS exam and get the best score possible. You should always be going for the best score possible because it will open the most doors for you, whether for learning or visas, immigrations. Hi Dwi, hi Amra. Nice to see our members joining in. For the general IELTS, same idea. It's the green background here. And again, you can click that big red button to join our premium IELTS package. Once again, it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. Of course, we have apps. The apps link to the websites. Download the app Academic IELTS Help from your App Store, General IELTS Help from your App Store, and then link it to your web account for some dynamic learning. You can get also schedules for live classes from our Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help. If you have questions, you can send me an email. My email address is Adrian, my name, at aehelp.com. So if you have questions about IELTS, our products, English, let us know. We're happy to help you. Students, we've got a couple of classes for you right now. So speaking part 2 right now, and then speaking part 3 right after. Speaking part 3 is connected to speaking part 2. So it's a good idea to hang out in both classes. And then we actually have more classes for you tomorrow as well. We have a light hall class. That's a free class, also a speaking. That's a full speaking interview, and that will be on Light Hall. Light Hall is an amazing platform for live learning. It's new, it's fantastic. Check it out. I just put the link into the chat. And also tomorrow we will have a Discord class. The Discord class, of course, is on Discord. Many of you, especially if you're a gamer, will know Discord. There is the link in the chat for that event, which will also be more speaking. So lots and lots of speaking. Speaking and using English every day is key to success, so practice does make perfect. Make sure to join as many of these classes and speak as many of these classes as possible. Absolutely. Okay. We have a new release. We just released a new speaking video with a candidate from Indonesia, where you can check out part 1 and part 2 of the speaking interview. That video has some tips for you what to be careful about when you're doing the IELTS exam. There's the link for that. Tulsi, good to see you join in on the class. That's fantastic. Amrit, I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking. Happy to have all of you here with me today. Let's get into some speaking, everybody. So IELTS speaking section. Part 2 is the second part, of course, of the speaking. It comes about 5 minutes into your speaking section oral exam. And there's a lot of different ways that you see the speaking now. So many of you will still be doing the speaking face-to-face, where you meet with the examiner at an exam center, and then you will do the speaking that way. Some of you are now doing the IELTS speaking through the computer, where you go to an exam center and then you speak via video chat to an examiner. And there's actually a new version of IELTS that has emerged from IDP in some countries, where you can actually now do the speaking from home, and we will have more information on that as well. That's also a video chat type of setup, and of course you have to have very good internet connection for that to make sure that it works well without problems. So kind of like using Zoom or Skype, if you've used those pieces of software. So IELTS speaking part 1, you sit down and you introduce yourself. The examiner asks you some questions on a general topic, and then when you are asked about 4 or 5 questions on that general topic, like your sports that you play or hobbies that you do, then the examiner will say that is the end of speaking part 1. We will now continue with speaking part 2. For this part, I will show you some questions. You will have 1 minute to prepare what you are going to say, to read the questions. You can take notes in that 1 minute if you wish. And then you will have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. I will tell you when to start, when to stop. So IELTS speaking part 2 only takes about 3 minutes. Now, these are very important 3 minutes because they have a major impact on your speaking score. And of course, your speaking score has a major impact on your IELTS score. Many institutions require the highest band score in your speaking, which is no surprise because that's the type of communication that you use most when you're using English. So it takes about 3 minutes, but is very important. Also because it will have a big impact on your speaking part 3, since speaking part 3 is connected to part 2. So you really have to have very good strategy for speaking part 2. Now, many of you learn this past, present, future strategy, past, present, future. There's a couple videos online that tell you to talk about the past and the present and the future when you're talking about part 2. This only works for some questions. The reason I'm telling you this, somebody said this to me yesterday in the chat of, oh, just do the past, present, future, but that's not true. So this only works for some questions. Keep that in mind. That actually ask you for this. It does not work for questions that ask you about either the past, present, or the future. If you talk about all 3, the past, the present, and the future, and the question's only focusing on the past, like talk about an enjoyable birthday celebration that you went to, and you start talking about future birthdays, your mark will go down because the question's not asking you about that. So members, while I have you in here, Dwi, Amra, Amrit, Tulsi, are you clear on that? So I just want to kind of clarify or correct this kind of information that's circulating around for a lot of students, thinking that it's a good idea to talk about the past, present, and future, okay? Do not do that if the question's not asking you to do that, because then your mark will be lower, and the examiner is not a fool. They will know that you're trying to use a strategy that is not effective, okay? So I can see that Tulsi, Amri are saying yes, that's clear. Very good. Yeah, the most important part of part 2, or the most important for part 2, is to stay on topic, give details, be original. For high band scores, you must stay on topic, give details, have good structure, and be original. Okay? You need good strategy for this. Okay, so the examiner will read this first part of the question set, the topic. They'll say, talk about an unusual object you have seen. Okay, your 1 minute preparation time begins now. So your first step, step 1, is to read the question carefully. And it's a good idea to read them twice, just so you're absolutely clear, okay? Remember, you can use the cue card while you're speaking. It's amazing how many students read the questions once and then start speaking. They get stuck, they forget to look at the cue card. They stop speaking, the examiner stops them, they don't answer all the questions on the card, and they get a low mark, okay? If you're stuck, especially, so if you're stuck for words, if you don't know what to say next, definitely look at the cue card again to get some more ideas about what else you can say, okay? That's right, Tulsi. So read the question twice. So let's do that right now. So this is a speaking class. Make sure to read and speak with me, okay? So read and speak with me during this class. Members and viewers, everybody who's watching, make sure to read and speak with me. So this isn't just a listening class. You're not just listening to me. You have to speak and copy, okay? Read and speak with me. Repeat me. Copy what I say, all right? So let's do this. Let's go from the top here. 3, 2, 1. Talk about an unusual object you have seen. You should say what the object is. Where did you see this object? What is the use of this object? What do you think about this item? Okay, so one more time. Talk about an unusual object you have seen. What the object is. Where did you see this object? What is the use of this object? What do you think about this item? All right. So for many of you, your brain is probably racing at this point, going, oh man, what should I talk about? What should I say? Well, before you start to freak out and panic about what to talk about, remember your strategy, okay? So don't rush ahead. Your 1 minute preparation time just started, and you know that your step 2 is to identify the category of the cue card. Okay, so the cue card will either be a person, a place, an object, an event, or an idea. It's kind of one of these 5 categories, which makes sense because just about any information fits into one of these categories. Now, sometimes it's a little bit of a combination, but most of the time it's just one of these categories. And each of these categories has a specific way to structure and talk about. So make sure to do that. Okay, make sure to figure it out and figure out what you need to say. Amra says the category here, it's not the topic so much, Amra, because the topic is an unusual object, but the category is an object. And when you talk about an object, okay, we always go through this because students tend to kind of forget what these include. So when you talk about an object, what should I include and how should I do it? So what should I talk about first? Okay. What should I talk about first? All right. And again, it's very important to know this. So Amra says, let's talk about its appearance. Yeah, what does it look like, right? So what does this object look like? Keep it simple. And Amra says the second one is the origin. Yeah, so where do you get it? Where can you find this object? Where does it come from, right? Number 3 is its function or usage. Okay, how do you use it? What do you do with this object, especially if you're talking about an unusual object, right? So usage. James says name, shape, material. That's the appearance, James. So it's name, its shape, its material. That's the appearance of the object. The origin is where it comes from. 3 is usage. And number 4 is its function, right? So, or its application. Okay. And then number 5, Amra says is your opinion. Yeah, we can say it's your experience, right? So what have you done with this object? Okay, so what does it mean for you? What's the value of this object for you? That's a good way to say it, is the value. As long as you say 1 to 2 sentences about the appearance, the origin, the usage, the function, and its value, the experience, while looking at the cue card, you will get a band 8 or 9 as long as you're fluent. Okay, so it reads to a great band score. All right, so this is really important. Everybody really pay attention to this. This can save you definitely band scores on your IELTS exam. All right, so first you have the appearance. Okay. Then second, you have the origin. Third, you have its usage. Fourth, you have the function. Fifth, you have the experience and value. And sixth, you're also looking at the questions. Now, keep in mind too, students, that when you talk about the appearance and the origin and the usage and the function and your experience, you usually end up answering most, if not all, of the questions on the cue card, because the cue card focuses on these, right? So if we look at this one here, we can kind of see that. So we can see what the object is. That's the appearance, right? Where did you see this object? That's the origin of the object. What is the use of the object? That's the function of the object. And what do you think about this item? That's kind of the experience with the object, right? So it's a simplification of these questions. The questions are just often complex ways of asking the same points that we just listed. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next step. What do? So you read the questions carefully. You have them in your head. You know that you're talking about an object. You know that you have to talk about the appearance, its location or its origin, its usage, its function, its value, and that happens very quickly. So in that 1 minute preparation time, step 1, step 2 only takes you about 10 seconds, okay, at most. It doesn't take you more than that. And then what's the next step? So what do we do after we have this in our head? Okay, so Lamia, Amra, James, Dwi, Toolsy, what do we do? Lamia says, get some ideas. Yeah, especially for this kind of a question, right? An unusual object. So think about 2 to 3 good possible answers. Okay, they should be easy, original, and lots of content. So easy to talk about. It should not be some idea that everybody's talking about. Please do not talk about your mobile phone. Too many people talk about it. Don't talk about COVID. Too many people talk about it for answers. So those kinds of popular answers, it's best to avoid them. Now, your 2 to 3 good ideas will also help you with part 3. Okay, so keep these ideas in mind for part 3 also, as they will serve as excellent examples and sources of ideas. Okay, so that's why it's very important. If I had to say, I would say that the most important strategy and tip for the entire speaking section is this step 3 that I'm talking to you about right now. So what are some unusual objects that we see? Now, keep in mind, here's a little tip, everyone. On the IELTS, you do not need to give the truth, and it does not have to be amazing for a band 9. What I mean by that is you don't have to come up with some really crazy object that nobody can figure out or think about. It can be, you know, something that's unusual but still quite common. Okay, so you can think about objects that the examiner will also know, but maybe you don't see them every single day around you. Okay. So what would be an unusual object that you have seen in your life? Now, I've got one on the on the thumbnail that maybe some of you saw for today's class. Anybody know what that object is called while you're thinking? So that object looked like this. I'm going to kind of draw it here. Okay, this is how that object looked. Anybody know what that object is called? I love this object. So while you're thinking, what is that object? And be really visual here. So try to think about, you know, you saw something on your way to work or at school, or you saw some object in the kitchen, in the restaurant, at a store. Okay, or yeah, so there's lots. I've got at least 5 or 6 ideas in my head, but I don't want to. Toolsy, it's not a hammer. It's related to eating. Okay, so this is basically this together with this. Okay, so Roger says it's a fork, it's something plastic. Yeah, this one is called, yeah, very good, Amra. So Amra says it's a spoon hyphen fork. Yeah, very good. It's actually called a spork. Okay. So this object that you see is called a spork. Okay, so it is a combination of a spoon and fork. All right, so it's called a spork. All right, sometimes you see it even fancier with like a little knife part added to it. So it's called a spork. Spoon and fork put together, you've got yourself a spork. All right, so that's my gift for this idea for today, the spork, but there are other unusual objects as well. For example, anybody play music? In music, does anybody know an unusual musical instrument or an unusual tool that's used in construction or in building? Okay, or have you seen an unusual tool in the kitchen other than a spork? or some kind of a tool in your chemistry lab, or in your biology lab that you used. So think about it, okay, and keep it simple. You don't want to be overcomplicated here, or some kind of a tool for helping to learn, for example. Again, unusual object, but doesn't have to be super unique. So give me some ideas. I want to see how well you can come up with a couple ideas. You only have 1 minute, so this is a good question to kind of motivate you to think quickly. Okay, Toolsy says a vegetable chopper. Yeah, sure. I know I got a kind of an unusual tool in my kitchen, Toolsy. It's an apple slicer. If you've seen one of those, the apple slicer kind of looks like this circle, and it's got this big kind of X or star in the middle, and you just push down on the apple and it immediately cuts the apple into slices. Okay, all right. Yeah, there's lots of unusual objects around us. So the last thing you want in the IELTS for cue cards for part 2 is to think negative, like I can't come up with any ideas. You never ever want to think that way, okay? I have no idea, Baljeet, what a clamp meter is, but I will put it up here. Okay. Rajveer says a multimeter. Sure. Yeah, that could be a good unusual object, right? In medicine, so there are lots of unusual objects as well. Okay, Rita, I'm not sure what you mean by an instruction letter, but we can put it up there. Okay, Dwee says a rock with animal fragments. Dwee, that I think you're thinking about a fossil, and that could be good. Dinosaur fossil. Okay, sure. Dino with an O. Dinosaur fossil. Wooden flute. Sure, Amra. Yeah. There you go. Now you're thinking. All right. Good. Okay, great. So there are lots of unusual objects. Yeah, in music, Amra, there's lots. There's, for example, like the finger guitar. I don't know if you've seen that, but the finger guitar looks like this, where it's like this kind of round. They usually use a coconut shell, and it's got these little metal pieces that you pluck or you push on, and then it makes kind of a nice sound. It looks like that. It's a finger guitar. Okay. All right, so lots of unusual objects. Now you're coming up with lots of them, okay? So here, the very important tip as well is never feel like you are stuck for ideas. You should never feel that you are stuck for ideas in part 2. Keep an open mind and think about all of the different life situations, school, work, home, tools, music, okay? And you will certainly come up with at least 2 or 3 good ideas, as we just did, okay? All right, we got a P missing here, clamp meter. All right, good. So excellent. Okay, we've got lots of ideas. That's great. Let's go with the spork for today. I think we can all talk about the spork. So I'm going to, and I love the spork. I want my speaking part 2 to be about the spork. I would talk about the spork for an unusual object, and maybe you can learn a little bit about this amazing and unusual object called the spork. So your next step. Okay, step number 4 is to come up with some useful notes. Okay. And I see there's a lot of different unusual objects coming up in the chat now, which is fantastic, students. So see, there you go. The floodgates are open. Your ideas are flowing. So step number 4 will be Useful notes. Okay. All right. So a spork. We're going to go with a spork for today. Everybody, again, a spork is a combination of a spoon and a fork. Okay. Spoon and fork. Okay, so first of all, its appearance. It is metal, wood, or plastic. It's a combination of a fork and a spoon. Okay. All right. And they're usually, there's small sporks, there's big sporks. So anywhere from, maybe 10 centimeters, 10 to 20 centimeters in size. Okay. All right, its origin. Where do you think you can get a spork from? Okay, Amra says silver in color. Sure. And where do you think you can get a spork from? Don't spend too much time on the appearance, students. So when you're talking about a person or an object, just a couple of quick sentences about the appearance, okay? Just to kind of introduce the idea and give an image to the examiner, but don't spend too much time on that, okay? And you're speaking. You should only talk for about 10 to 15 seconds on the appearance at most, okay? So where would you get that? Rajveer says crockery store online. Yeah, online you can definitely get it. Okay, Baljit says utensil store. Maybe. Yep, you can Toolsy. That's right. Many restaurants, especially fast food restaurants, sometimes will have a spork in rare cases. Yeah, absolutely. And another place you can get them actually is camping stores, which will give you an idea of the purpose of these. Okay. All right, it's usage. So how do I use the spork? How do I use the spork? And this should be a fairly easy one, right? If you think about either a spoon or a fork, then you will come up with this quite quickly. So scoop, soup, place in mouth, or you can use it to jab or stab, steak and eat, or you can use it to stir coffee. Let's say, okay. All right. Yeah, Baljit says not only for noodles, but also for pudding. Okay. Not only, but also is a very good correlative conjunction here, Baljit, and thank you for reminding us of that. Sometimes students in the notes, you can also write down words that help you to increase your band score. So Baljit very cleverly wrote the words not only but also, and definitely when talking about a spork, you can really use these either or, whether or, and it's a good idea to write down in your notes some of these kinds of useful words for your part 2 that can help you to increase your score. Okay, so that was really smart. All right. So Toolsy says to eat noodles and soup simultaneously. Absolutely. Okay, so that's its usage. What do you think is the function? So why not have a spoon and a fork? So why have this multi-tool? What's the logic of having a spork? Why in the world would somebody invent the spork even if we have a spoon and a fork. And think about a camping store as well. So why would we do this? There's a couple of good reasons, and function, you should always think about it. So what's the logic? Okay, so usage and function, a lot of times people confuse these two, or they combine them without realizing that they're combining them. But ideally, you should be able to think of an object as the way to use it and the function, the application of that object. Okay, so Amrit says for eating and design. Okay, sure. So eating, yes, that's clear. Zarina says it's more handy. Why, Zarina? When you say an idea like it's more handy, think about why. Baljeet says lazy to carry two of them separately. Amra says it saves time and effort. Sure, but why? Okay, why would the spork save time and effort? Remember what I said, that one of the places where you find the spork often is in camping stores. Okay, so that's one of the locations. Okay, Dewey says to save plastic and materials. Yeah, so less materials, less waste, and cheaper, right? So if you have a noodle restaurant and you give somebody a spork, and that's actually where you find them sometimes, there are fast food noodle restaurants. You have a spork, it's convenient. You don't have to switch between a spoon and a fork. And it's cheaper, right? You don't have to have two utensils, okay? So it's cheaper, it's less waste, it's functional for some kinds of foods like hot noodle soup, okay? And it takes less space too, right? For camping, if you're hiking and you're carrying your food, you're carrying all of your necessities on your camping trip, you want to minimize your weight, right? So how much you're carrying. So you often have these multi-tools while you are camping. Now, there's another great idea for thinking of unusual objects, right? Or for camping, for example. Sports and camping have lots of unusual objects as well. So for camping, it's lighter, right? It's less problematic. You don't have to carry both a spoon and a fork, okay? All right. So what's my opinion? It's value. Good for camping. Okay. Bad for everyday use. All right. So that would be my opinion. Obviously, if a spork were that great, we would not have spoons and forks, but we would just have sporks. But it's neither the greatest spoon nor the greatest fork, so therefore it's a spork. It's good for camping, but not that great for eating every day, okay? All right, so we have a lot of information now, and all of this information should come quite quickly. When you're doing your 1 minute preparation time, as long as you're confident, as long as you come up with a good idea, you can write down most of these notes quite quickly, or at least get the ideas, and then you can even have 10 seconds for your last step, step number 5. And what is that last step? Okay, what's that last step? What do I finally do in that 1 minute preparation time before the examiner says your 1 minute preparation time is up? Please begin speaking. Amrit, this was a question in a former exam. Yeah, a few years ago. This was an exam question. Okay. So Lamia says first sentence. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so get your first sentence ready. Now, the first sentence should use the topic and give a direct answer to that topic. Okay, so I'm going to give the first sentence here, and then you can do the same. We'll compare. Now for this exercise, let's all focus on writing sentences talking about the sport, okay? And then you can come up with different sentences when you get your chance to talk to me live, okay? Because that's what we're going to do next. Welcome, Prabhasha, to the class. Good to see you on board right as we start, okay? Tulsi, too general. So Tulsi says, some unusual things can make our lives easier and more comfortable. Too broad, okay? Now, keep in mind, Tulsi, here's a very important point, Tulsi. Keep this in mind, okay? This question topic is in present perfect, okay? Because we're emphasizing our experience of the unusual object. So another really important point, Tulsi, is reflect the grammar. So here it says, talk about an unusual object you have seen. Okay, so Rajveer says, an extremely unusual object that I have seen is a spork. Okay. Oh, no need to apologize, Tulsi. It's totally fine. Just letting you know. You want to be direct. So Rajveer has a good sentence. Rajveer says, an extremely unusual object that I have seen on several occasions is a spork. Okay. Baljit says, an item that I use rarely is a spork. Yeah, very good, Baljit. I'm not sure when I've used a spork last. It might have been years ago, but I've definitely used it. Tulsi says, I have seen several unusual objects throughout my life. Tulsi, no. Don't talk about several unusual objects. This part 2 is asking you about one. Talk about an unusual object. N means one. Okay, so this N means one. So I don't need to know about several unusual objects that you've seen throughout your life. I just need to know about one unusual object. The more directly and accurately you answer the question, the better. All of those strategies that you've seen, Tulsi, online that tell you to talk about a lot of different objects, but the one and to thank the person, that's too general. If you speak generally for cue card part 2, you get a lower mark. Okay. Zarina, but you did. So many of you did come up with unusual objects. Okay. All right. And Zarina, if an object, for example, okay, so Zarina says, this is too hard for me. We cannot come up with it. Zarina, this was an IELTS question in the past. Okay. So keep that in mind. Think about it this way. Okay. Let me give you like a really simple, kind of concept here. If you come from a country, so think about this, okay, where else? Put it here. Okay, so if you come from a country that uses chopsticks, you could talk about a fork or spoon or fork, probably better, because countries all kind of use spoons, but you could talk about a fork. If you come from a country that uses forks, you could talk about chopsticks. Okay. By the way, even thinking about this right away, one object that I thought of are the cooking chopsticks, those really long chopsticks that people use to cook food. Okay, so there are so many unusual objects that surround us, Zarina. All right, And again, for the IELTS, it doesn't have to be amazing. So for example, if I live in Vietnam and I use chopsticks most of the time, then I could say an unusual object that I have seen is a fork. In Vietnam, most people eat with chopsticks, and forks are not so common. The other day, I saw a very interesting dessert fork used for eating cake. Okay. Again, Zarina, this was a really important tip in this part, okay? Because I've seen this happen not just with this topic, but with even more common topics. You should never feel that you are stuck for ideas in part 2. Keep an open mind and think of all the different situations in life: school, work, home, tools, music, eating. Visualize these. Okay, stay calm and visualize these. Okay, Lamia, they usually don't repeat. They might ask similar questions, but part 2 usually does not repeat. Okay, so let's get back to what we're doing, and you'll notice that it's really easy to continue part 2 when you know the exact structure of what you're saying. So here we go. An extremely unusual object that I have seen on several occasions is a spork. Okay, let's describe the appearance before we talk about where it comes from, how much it costs. I already saw somebody say that it costs like $7. Maybe that was Amra. Before we do that, let's describe what it looks like. This is an eating utensil, which looks like a spoon and a fork had a baby. It has a long handle with a round head and prongs on the tip. Okay, so I'm teaching you some vocabulary here as well. All right. It can be made of plastic, wood, or metal, and is anywhere from 10 to 20 centimeters in length. Okay. All right. So that's what it looks like. Okay. An extremely unusual object that I have seen on several occasions is a spork. This is an eating utensil that looks like a spoon and a fork had a baby. It has a long handle with a round head and prongs on the tip. So those little points on the fork, those are the prongs of the fork, okay? It can be made of plastic, wood, or metal, and is anywhere from 10 to 20 centimeters in length. Most commonly, a person can buy a spork from a camping store, online, or get one from a fast food place like a noodle house. Okay, good. Rajveer says it is a combination of both a spoon and a fork and serves the purpose of both of them. It costs around $3 and is available in different materials like metal, wood, and plastic, and is usually about 20 centimeters. Good. Amrit says this is a very handy and comfortable for me. It costs around 300 rupees. It's made of wood and is 10 to 20 centimeters in length. Excellent. Okay, so you're describing the appearance. I've described the appearance and the origin so far and the way to use it. So this eating utensil, I'm repeating this so that you learn it, okay? So whatever we eat with, that tool is called a utensil, okay? Or another way that you can say it is cutlery. Okay, so this cutlery, it's a synonym for eating utensil. Okay, just teaching you some words here. These are very useful You can definitely use these in your life with English. On an airplane, do you guys have a spork? Okay, so this cutlery, let me steal a little bit from you here, Rajveer, serves the purpose of both a spoon and a fork. A person can scoop liquids like soup into their mouths, or they can jab a piece of meat or noodles and eat it. Okay, all right, so there you go. Right, that's the function, right? Okay, so now what's the logic of the spork? So the spork was likely created to save money and effort. I mean, a fast food noodle house does not need to give both utensils to the customer, therefore saving money. Also, it is convenient, especially for people who cannot use chopsticks. Okay. And then keep going with the camping, right? So often campers take a spork with them instead of a spoon and fork to save space and weight, especially on long hikes. The last time I saw a spork was when I went hiking with my friend Mike, and he had one with him. Okay, and then the value. I think that a spork is very useful in such circumstances, but it is neither the best as a spoon or a fork. So for everyday eating, I prefer those instead. Okay, now, if I have more time, I can look at the card, I can look at my notes and expand. Here I can always review my cue card, make sure that I answered all the questions. So what the object is, yes, I answered that. Where did you see the object? Yes, I answered that. What is the use of this object? Yes, I answered that. And what do you think about this item? I answered that as well. So I've done a good job answering all those questions. Okay. Now let's review this. So speak with me, everyone. Here we go. Okay. An extremely unusual object that I have seen on several occasions is a spork. This is an eating utensil that looks like a spoon and a fork had a baby. It has a long handle with a round head and prongs on the tip. It can be made of plastic, wood, or metal, and is anywhere from 10 to 20 centimeters in length. Most commonly, A person can buy a spork from a camping store, online, or get one from a fast food place like a noodle house. This cutlery serves the purpose of both a spoon and a fork. A person can scoop liquids like soup into their mouths, or they can jab a piece of meat or noodles and eat it. The spork was likely created to save money and effort. I mean, a fast food noodle house does not need to give both utensils to the customer, therefore saving money. Also, it's convenient, especially for people who cannot use chopsticks. Often campers take a spork with them instead of a spoon and a fork to save space and weight, especially on long hikes. The last time I saw a spork was when I went hiking with my friend Mike, and he had one with him. I think that a spork is very useful in such circumstances, but it is neither the best as a spoon nor a fork. So for everyday eating, I prefer those instead. Baljeet says, the last time I saw a spork was when I went camping with my friend as he ate his noodles with it. Yeah, in fact, some instant noodles, you know how like sometimes instant noodles, they have a fork inside? I've seen instant noodles that have a spork inside. So now you won't be too surprised when you see that, okay? Amra says, the one extraordinary item that I have ever seen in my life is a spork. It's a 15 centimeter long silver item made of metal, wood, or plastic, and is the combination of a spoon and fork. Very nice, Amra. I like the paraphrasing. I like the one extraordinary item. Extraordinary here is a good way to paraphrase unusual. Okay, Amrit says, this is a very handy and comfortable item for me. It costs me around 300 rupees. It's made of wood and is 10 to 20 centimeters in length. I'm making a few corrections there in your speaking members, but you're doing good. Zarina, don't give up. Tulsi, don't give up. I want to see your responses here in your own words. Students, let's practice talking about an unusual object. Let's do this together. So I'm going to take some volunteers. Okay, here we go. So let's go to the websites to use the speaking interface. And this is members chat, so members get first priority, but if I see some other students and members are not volunteering, then we'll take somebody else. So let's hop to the website. Let's go to aehelp.com, everybody. So this is aehelp.com, and create an account. So www.aehelp.com. Okay. Click the join now button to join the premium IELTS package, or for free, click the try demo. That's you can 100% sign up for free as well. And then once you do that, so click boom, join now. You join, and then you go to your My Student account. You end the tour. Don't take the tour right now. And then right above my head there, yeah, it's right there, boom, right above my head. You've got your student partner speaking. Underneath that, you can book a speaking interview practice with me, and you can also download the mobile app with the QR code that's right behind my head, right behind my back, actually. Okay, but right now, let's click on that student partner speaking. And there we go. Accept to start speaking, enable your microphone, enable your speakers, okay? And then you are in this place here where you can send me a message. So here is Amra, Omirjan, Sarah, Mizad. Very nice to see you in here. And then you can send me a message, and Omirjan has already done that. So to volunteer for speaking. Now, Amra, if you would like to speak with me, send me a message. Again, members, you do have a little bit of an advantage here. So if I don't see you volunteering, then I will choose one of our other regular students like Sarah and Omirjan. And for this exercise, everyone, you can try the same. So if you really want to practice the same, you can try talking about the spork. Or if there's another unusual object that you would like to choose and you're confident in it, then you can do that as well. Okay. So Dwi, Baljit, Amra, see that you're in here if you'd like to give it a go. Now, the way to do this, because everybody who's watching, we will have an all chat class speaking part 3 after this one, and anybody will be able to volunteer there, and you will do it the same way. So you'll see my handle. It's master. That's probably why some of you don't know what's going on here. So when you see master, click on the blue envelope beside my name, master. And then write me a message. Say, I want to volunteer, or please let me try. And then I will let you try, okay? All right. So while I wait for Zarina or Dwi or Baljit or Amra to figure it out, there's Zarina. Okay, let's try Zarina then. Here, let's see. Brave Zarina. Here we go. Practice makes perfect, so I'm volunteering. Right you are, Zarina. Okay, are you ready? Zarina. And you're absolutely right. Practice does make perfect, and practicing hard part 2s it's a really, really good idea, okay? Hi, Zarina.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm solid.
Good, right on. See, you're picking up my lingo.
Yes.
Good for you. You're solid. So Zarina, I remember that in the chat you said, "Oh, this is a really difficult topic. Like I'm stuck for ideas," right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a really good idea to practice challenging topics for part 2 in the IELTS, because sometimes part 2 cue card questions are unusual. Like they're a little bit weird. So you don't want to be surprised if you get kind of an unusual part 2. I remember one of my students a little while ago was complaining because their part 2 topic was talk about a successful businessman that you know, and they're like, I don't know any businessmen, so it was like really difficult and I got stuck. So you have to kind of practice these kinds of topics. So Zarina, let's do it. So let's do this cue card now. Again, up to you. You can talk about the spork, or you can talk about a different item if you'd like. The choice is yours. Okay.
I'd like to challenge myself.
Ooh, okay. Sounds good. All right. So I will start you off. I will keep the cue card on the screen so you can look at the questions as you need to. Okay. So let's do this. So, okay. Talk about an unusual object you have seen. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay, sir. An unusual object that I've seen recently is a handheld rechargeable mini fan. It looks like a toy fan, and it comes in different color. I knew because it's colorful, but I saw this with one of the passenger in the bus when I was commuting going to work. At first, I find it really funny, but I think it's a clever idea to have that kind of item because you can have it everywhere you go, anytime you need it to freshen up yourself, especially on hot summer days. In and it is definitely functional. So next thing I did is I went to a local department store here in my area, and I looked for the same item and I bought my own. And I got the color green, which is my favorite color.
Okay, I will stop you there. Your 2 minutes is up, and please put the note paper and the pencil to the side. And now we will continue with part three. For this part, I will ask you more questions related to the topic of part two. Serena, that was really good. That was really good. I knew exactly what you're talking about, by the way. I've seen them before, those little rechargeable fans that people can hold. And they do look funny. They do look like a toy. Yeah, I'm always worried about hitting myself in the face with those things when I'm using them. Yeah, no, that was great. Or getting your hair caught in it is the other one, right? When person gets it too close to their hair. That was really good. Let me give you some feedback, okay? So first of all,
Okay, sure.
band score wise, that part two would be an easy 7.5, probably as high as a band 8. Okay?
Oh,
You're answering the question clearly and directly. I know what you're talking about. I can empathize with you, and you're giving me good detail. So you told me what it is. It's a handheld, rechargeable mini fan. Clear picture. You said it looks like a toy. I like that simile. And you told me where you saw it. You said that you saw it, one of the passengers using it on a bus while you were commuting. Nice use of vocabulary. Passengers, commuting. And then you gave me your experience. So you said at first I thought it was really funny. So you didn't follow the same structure that we talked about. Remember the structure? It's appearance, origin, then it's
okay.
usage, how
Yeah.
you use it, and then it's the function and its value, right? So you mix that up a little bit, which is not the end of the
Yes,
world.
sir.
It's okay. But it's easier if you keep the same. So a person can use
Yes,
this
sir.
fan by making sure it has battery, and it's
Yes.
rechargeable. How do you recharge it? So how do you recharge this fan?
USB.
Hmm. See,
USB.
there's some nice vocabulary that you can use there, and you can talk a little bit more. So I can charge
Yeah.
this fan by using a USB cable. I can plug it into my computer at work, or I can plug it into my phone charger, even, right?
Yes, sir.
And then once it has full charge, there's a little switch. I can turn it on. The blades start spinning. They create a good air current, and they help to cool my
Yes.
face when my face is sweating, right? So lots of sweating. It helps to cool my face, and it keeps me cool and comfortable. So you could have used a little bit more detail there to
Yes,
get
sir.
that band 9, but overall it was very good. Now, one kind of mistake that you want to avoid, and you want to practice avoiding this, Zarina, is the yourself. Okay, so don't switch to that second person, the you
Yes, yes.
yourself. Okay,
I
so
always.
yeah, everybody does. So you just have to avoid it. So at first I thought it was really funny, but then I realized it's very useful for a person to freshen up, especially on hot summer days. It helps a person to stop sweating. And
Yes.
That's very useful, especially if I have makeup when I'm going to work, right?
Yes.
Okay, try that sentence again. So try to avoid yourself and try that sentence one more time. So at first I thought it was really funny, but then I realized it was very useful to freshen up, especially on hot summer days. And it stops a person from sweating, which is very good when that person's wearing makeup like I do sometimes. Try that.
At first, I thought it's really funny, but I realized that it helps me freshen up. A person freshen up when um person is feeling hot when on hot summer days, and it can stop sweating.
Yeah, very good. Okay, excellent. So yeah, it takes practice to get that you and your out of your communication. But once you get the you and the your out of your communication, then your communication starts to become much clearer and much more detailed. So keep practicing that, and then that band 758 will be 859. Okay.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Zarina, you said it's hard to think of an unusual object, but look at you go.
Yes.
That was a great unusual object, the little handheld
Yes.
fan. That was really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mind kind of playing around earlier.
Yeah, that's, and as long as we stay confident and keep a clear mind, we can answer these questions. Like there are so many electronic devices that are unusual as well. Like I even thought about that fidget, the fidget object that people are
Yes.
spinning in their hands. Those are pretty weird too. Okay, Zarina, thank you so much for being the first volunteer. Keep up the good work
Thank you,
and
sir. Thank
keep
you.
practicing. Bye, Zarina.
Bye, sir.
All right, what great work from Zarina. Give her a thumbs up. That was really, really good. Nipapoon, welcome to our group of members. Make sure to send me an email to get access to those exclusive videos. All right, okay, I think Baljeet was our second member to volunteer here. So Baljeet, let's give you a shot. Okay, we haven't heard your voice in a while. Are you ready? And again, you can just practice what we practiced in the class. So you can talk about a sport if you haven't come up with an idea like the the rechargeable handheld fan. All right, here we go.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Baljeet. How are you?
I'm doing great, sir. What about you?
I'm doing pretty good as well, thank you. I'm enjoying today's lesson topic with the spork and now the handheld fan. All right, Baljeet, have you ever seen a spork?
No, not really.
Really? You've
But
never seen a spork?
I have created the picture, but now I can see.
Maybe they're not so common in India, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe one day. Maybe one day, Baljeet. All
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Or if you don't want to wait, Baljeet, I'm sure you can go on Amazon because I checked and they have sporks. So,
Yes, sir. I
um,
will definitely check.
all right. If you like camping, it's a useful little item. Okay, Baljeet. So, are you ready to do this part two? I will start you off, and then, same with Zarina, you can go with something new, or if you want, just go with a spork. It's not a big deal. Whatever you decide. Okay.
I will go for a spoke, sir.
All right, go for the spork. So here we go. Talk about an unusual object you have seen. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
An item that I use rarely is a spoke. It is basically a utensil, uh, which is made up of metal, wood, plastic, or maybe a combination of different kinds of alloys. So, this is basically a combination of spork, sorry, a fork and a spoon, and it is about 20 to 10 centimeters of length. It can be available in online stores as well as some camping stores also. The usages of this item is pretty good because people can not only eat noodles with the this item but also the pudding. So I remember I first time I saw this object when I went on a camping with my friend near about uh, 20 kilometers from our town, and he had this spork in his bag, and he used to eat his breakfast with this. So I think it is good for camping and not for all everyday usages. So I think it is value for money, and people uh, can use this for when they are going for camping, because it is uh, a good alternative for both spoon and fork.
Okay, I will stop you there. Now we will continue with part 3. Um, okay, that was really good. So your band score would be about a 7 for that. Okay, for sure. So it's considered good English because you're making sense. You've got good structure. You're answering the questions on the cue card. You're staying specific. You're giving me an original answer. Now, one part of your speech that was a bit awkward was your fluency. It felt like you were just getting stuck a little bit for coming up with good sentences and connecting your sentences. So you had some repetition of words like usage, usage
Yes.
was repeated a few times. Also, when you're talking about the appearance of an object or a person, Baljit, don't go into too much detail. Like you said, it's basically a utensil that is made up of wood, metal, and plastic. If you say made up of wood, metal, and plastic, it sounds like it's all of those at the same time. Okay, so made from, not made up of. So you had a few kind of slight oddities in your word choice that made the ideas a bit confusing. So don't say made up of, it's made from either wood, metal, or plastic. And then, you throw in the combination of alloys, but I was kind of like, really? Like, you want me to, let's not go into like, this is titanium, a combination of steel and tin, right? So it's a bit much, right? We're talking about a spork, not a space rocket, right? So so it's a
Yeah.
bit much.
Actually, this came from my electrical engineering studies.
I felt that. I felt that you were just trying to throw some extra pieces of information in English in there. And while I appreciate that, right, as your friend, as an examiner, it's kind of like, are we talking about a spork right now, or are we talking about electrical engineering, right? So just careful with that, Baljit. Okay, stick to the topic. Really keep in mind the strategy of appearance, origin, how to use it, right? It was kind of interesting for me that that's the one that a lot of students forget, is the way to use it. So think about the audience, the examiner, as kind of like an alien. They've never seen a spork before. How do I use a spork? What do I do with it, right? So you scoop liquids, you stir liquids, or you can poke, you can jab with it like a fork. You can poke a steak, you can jab a steak with it, okay, or meat with it.
Yes.
So how do you use it, right? Like with Zarina, it's the same. You've got this little fan, but how do you use it? Okay, like for example, with the little fan that Zarina was talking about, we want to charge it, make sure it has lots of batteries, because I know that with those little fans, one problem is they don't last too long. They only have about like 10 minutes of functioning time. So you always want to have a full battery, a full charge, then you turn it on, and make sure to keep it about 30 to 40 centimeters from your face so you don't hit your face or you don't get your hair tangled in it, right? So usage, how do you use that object safely in a good way? All right, it's important. Can you tell me just one sentence about the spork? How do you use it?
I can use the spork for stirring my coffee, as well as for eating of, as I mentioned, pudding or noodles.
Okay, by either scooping or jabbing it. Okay.
Yes, I remembered that when I completed the sentence.
Yeah, so think about the movement that's required for that object, okay? All right, so the examiner is an alien. They do not know what you know. All right, Baljit, thank you so much for volunteering. It was really great to hear your voice. Keep up the good work, and hopefully you have the magical opportunity of interacting with a spork one of these days.
Yeah, sure, sir. I will definitely look
All right.
after the class.
Bye, Baljit.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, that was Baljit talking about an item he's never actually seen before, which was quite impressive. Give Baljit a thumbs up. That was really good. Okay. Amra, I think Amra really wanted to test her microphone, and I know she's been having troubles with it. So let me give Amra a chance to test the microphone. I did see that message, Amra, in the chat. So let me just send you a quick message here. Are you ready to test your system? If it works, then you can give this a go. Okay. Oh, I just see in the chat you just said, sir, it is not working. What's going on with that microphone, Amra? You got to throw it out and get yourself a new one. Okay, all right, then we'll forego Amra for now. Dwee, if you're still here, you definitely can. Dwee is another one of our somewhat newer members. She's been with us for a little bit now. So are you ready? Okay. If you're a member, let me know. Like, I can't remember, Sarah, are you a member or not? Or Mohammed? If you're a member, let me know. Okay. Dwee says yes.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hi, Dwee. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah. How about you?
I'm doing quite well also. Thank you for asking. Any big plans for the weekend?
Yeah, it's definitely so big because in 2 days I will face my IELTS test
Ooh.
in Monday.
There
Yeah.
you go. All right. So lots of learning, lots of practice this weekend. Good news, Dwee. We've got more speaking today. So we've got part 3 after this class. And then I've got 2 more speaking classes tomorrow on Light Hall and Discord as well.
Yeah.
So join
I
those.
have registered for that.
Awesome. Great. I will be looking for you, keeping in mind that you've got an upcoming exam. Okay, Dwee, let's do this. Are you ready to practice this part 2 cue card?
Yes, definitely.
All right, here we go. So I'll start you off. And again, Dwee, same thing as with the last 2 volunteers with Baljit and Zarina. You can choose a different item if you'd like, or stay with the sport. Completely up to you, okay?
Yes. Okay.
All right. So talk about an unusual object you have seen. Your 1-minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
An object that is really unfamiliar for me is none other than transparent face mask. The first time I saw it is in the television on the talk show event where the both presenter and speaker using that. It's actually a protection medical mask made of the fabric, but it has transparent plastic shape in rectangle at the front of it at the mouth. And it also has a pair of string to connect it to humans' ears. So to wear it, actually people just need to attach the string to the ears and adjust the mask on the face to make it comfortable for them to speak and breathe. I have searched for that mask actually, and it can be bought at the local drugstore or even the e-commerce with the price $5 per each. Why it has a transparent plastic shape in front of it? It's kind of help people to show the mouth of the speaker, even though they use maskers. So the articulation of the people is easily to understood. And in the lately, not only the television employees that use that mask, but also the deaf people at the meeting, especially when this pandemic situations. This is kind of hard for the deaf people to talk and have communication because the mask is covered the mouth. So this actually bring the ends at their wits. And at the 3 months ago, if I'm not mistaken, I have a meeting with client and they provided this mask, the transparent one, that actually because the client is having one personnel that is deaf. So in this time, I really think that this is convenience for solving the problems because people hard to communicate when the mouth is in.
Okay, your
And it's
time is
really
up. I'm going to stop you there.
yes.
So good, Dwee. Okay, eventually the examiner will stop you, and that was about 2 minutes. So that was really good. All right, first of all, Dwee, huge thumbs up. That was great. That was really fantastic. Suddenly, I think all of our members who are in the class from the beginning, and I'm sure a lot of people thought, oh, talking about an unusual object is so challenging, but now, everybody's like, oh, there's so many unusual objects around us, right? And definitely the transparent face mask is an unusual object that has become somewhat popular over the last few years with COVID. Yeah, we see people walking around with all kinds. You probably also saw that other face mask with the LED lights that show emojis. Yeah, so like glowing lights on the mask, and if you're smiling, the mask is smiling. Have you seen that
Oh
one?
my god. That's a sick. No, I haven't.
Yeah. So it can actually, the mask can sense whether you're smiling or laughing, and then the outside of the mask has lights on it, and it will actually copy like an emoji the emotion that you're so yeah, people come up with all kinds of crazy things, but the transparent mask was really good, right? And you had some really good ideas, and I felt that, you were working really hard to stay away from that you and yours. You were original. That was easily a 7.5 to an 8. There were just a couple of sentences, Dwee, where I felt like it was a little bit hard to figure out exactly what you're saying. Like when you're talking about the deaf clients, I think you were rushing a little bit. And I get the idea, okay? So for a person who is deaf, they need to see the articulation of the mouth, and you did explain that. But some of it was a little bit tricky to understand. So I think you can improve by half a band just by slowing down a bit. So you're giving me lots of information. You can slow down a bit, give me a little bit less information, but a little bit clearer, and you'll get an even better score, okay? Like you'll get like an 8.5, because I think you have very good English, and you had a very good idea here. And also when you're moving a bit slower, you can think of some good ideas that might escape you otherwise. So here you talked about the articulation of the mouth and the transparent face mask being important for that. One thought I had while you were talking about this, and this is how the examiner's thinking as well, is what about the emotions, right? Like I thought one of the best uses of the transparent face mask is so that our listeners can see our emotions, not just our articulation. So there's more communication happening, right? Also, the transparent face mask maybe lets the person breathe a little bit easier because it's not right on the mouth, but there's space between the mask and the mouth, so a little bit easier for breathing as well. So it's good for presentations, it's good for personal communication with friends, it's good for video chatting online so that we can see the whole face. So a little bit slower and then maybe a little bit clearer, okay?
Okay.
Otherwise, a fantastic idea. And I liked how you used some of those correlative conjunctions as well, like not only, but also. Your fluency was fantastic. I couldn't keep up with my typing, so that was really good. Any questions about part 2, Dwee?
Yes. I was thinking that is it okay to make it general, or it's more like personal? Because I say it a lot of time that people could use this, or it's convenient for people, or it's better for me to, I could use it by putting on my ears.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So just for everybody, what Dwee is asking me is, should she be using the first person voice of the speaker? First person voice of speaker or author, it means like saying I, me, my. That's your subjective personal view and personal experience. That's your subjective first person voice, okay? Second person voice is from the listener. That's the you and the yours. That's what we stay away from. The only time you use that is in the general IELTS in task 1. And the third person voice is the objective voice. That's where people, individuals, clients, customers, that's the third person voice, okay, where we don't use the I or the you. And it's very important for Band 8, Band 9 to control those voices. In the cue card, Dwi, you really have to pay attention to the cue card. Some cue cards are very personal. So this is a good example, because notice how it says, talk about an object, and I'm highlighting this for you, that you have seen. Okay, where did you see this object? What is the use of this object? What do you think about this object? So in 3 of the parts, you have this you, and that's telling you that you need to use the I, me, my, okay?
Yeah.
However, this first question here, the what the object is and what is the use of the object, that's third person. Okay, it's not saying what do you use it for, or what is your object. So it's more third person. So here you can kind of use a combination, and that's usually typical for part 2 speaking, is you can use a combination of the first person and third person. Just stay away from the second person voice, okay?
All right. That is so clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah, when I did my exam, I sometimes do the official IELTS exam incognito, like I go in and I sit the exam as a student at an exam center where people don't know that I'm and hopefully they don't recognize me. When I did it last time, the question that I got for part 2 cue card was, talk about a place that you often go to in your city. And I talked about this island that has a lot of recreational facilities where I go for jogging and for swimming. And I got a band 9 in my speaking, and part 2 was mostly in first person, where I was talking about I, me, my, myself, I do this, I go there. So so really pay attention to the card, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Dwi, good question. And then I look forward to seeing you in our upcoming classes so that you can really get that best score on your test, okay? Keep it up.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Bye, Dwi.
Bye.
All right, that was Dwi. Give her a thumbs up. She's doing a great job. And I think that was a question that probably many of you have as well. I'm going to stop there, everyone, for now. If you didn't have a chance to volunteer in this class, don't worry. We have a speaking part 3 class coming up. So Sarah, I will definitely be looking for you, because and Omirjan as well, because I know you're very studious and you really want to speak as well. So come back for speaking part 3 that will focus on related topics to part 2. Everybody, we're using our websites all the time in these live classes, so make sure to register on our website for either the premium course or at least the free version, so that you can use all of these tools that we use in the live teaching. Click that red button to join our premium package there, okay? All right, everyone. So again, stick around, come back in 30 minutes. I will host speaking part 3. And in that 30 minutes, check out aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Thank you, members. Lots of great participation today. Baljit, Zarina, Dwi, thank you for volunteering. Amra, figure out that microphone. Baljit, great job. Amrit, Pravasha, everybody, fantastic. We'll see you soon, okay? I'm Adrian. I'm signing out for now, but I'll be back shortly.